kids. What's going on with priorities in this country? Education contributor Steve Perry. I called on him. I want him to talk to us about this. And you know what, Steve? Forget these two cases that I just brought up because, you know, we're not going to sit here and have discussions about one school system or another school system. What bothers me is this, as a dad, all right? I'm going to just put my biases right here on the table for you. I have 4 children. They're all I think about every single waking moment. That's all I care about is my children. And I am bothered as hell when I know and find out that schools in my area will close or put locks on their doors when the kids leave. If I want to go play catch with my kid at the schoolyard or play on the basketball courts, I can't do it. If I want to go to take my kids to some area for recreation, there's no adults there. There's only kids in the corner smoking pot. It seems like we are not prioritizing children, but every city is loaded to the gills with police officers. And we've got no problems making arguments about, you know, military spending. It just seems like there's something wrong here, man.
There is something wrong. Police officers, military, and prisons. We don't have a problem spending $80,000 to lock a kid up a year, but we can't seem to find the money to put $12,000 to send them to a school of their choosing. We have created a cognitive dissonance where we say on the one hand that we care about our children, yet when they look at the offerings that we give them, there's not much proof that we care. I'll give you another one. You say that you speak as a father, I speak as a father, but let me speak to you as a principal. I just left my building just a few minutes ago, and one of my folks who works to help us send kids to college said to me, on the good side, we're going to send another 100% of our kids onto four-year colleges. On the bad side, at least 50% of them will not be able to go because there's not enough financial aid for them to be able to go, and their parents are being turned down for student loans. I've never seen this in my life. At least 50% of our children who've done every single thing that we've asked them to do are now going to have to stay home, even though they've been accepted to college.
But don't we know, how hard is this principle to understand? If I used to be the spokesperson for DARE when it first started down in Florida. It's about drug education.
Yep.
And I remember I would say, the way to keep kids off drugs is to get to them before people come to them and offer them drugs. The way to keep kids off the streets, the way to keep kids out of jails, the way to keep kids out of crime is to deal with them before they become criminals. In other words, you got to put water on a flower or on a fruit before it spoils, and it's cheaper that way than to deal with them afterward. Why is this so hard for our leaders and for our people and for Americans to understand?
Because thoughtful people like you who care more about their kids than the employees of the schools are not speaking up. There are not enough people out there who understand, wait a minute, when I think back on my high school experience, one of the things I think about are the things I did after school. Sure, there were a lot of great teachers during the course of the day, but they're cutting the programs that tend to mean the most to the children. They cut the sports, they cut the art programs, they cut these other programs that really help us to develop the character that we have over our lives. It's not because we want all of our kids to go on and become great athletes, it's because we want them to learn how to play well with others. And also think of the following. We need to understand that we're in a dire financial situation, and there are going to need to be some significant cuts, and we're going to have to talk about that. We're going to have to talk about spending differently than we've talked about it before. However, this is where parents like you and I have to come up, and we have to man up, and we have to decide that we're going to make sure that the building stays open because we're going to volunteer in the afternoon.
Well, yeah, but even if you delve into other areas, where's the creative financing here? I mean, look, I know exactly what you're talking about. My parents, $9,000 a year, combined income when I was growing up. Guess what? My mom had a job where she got home about 6 or 7 o'clock, working in a factory sewing shoes, and my dad had 2 jobs, including washing dishes at hotels on Miami Beach. I get what it's like to not have parents there. I was lucky I was in an area where the schools were open, where I played ball, where I learned to play football, where I had after school activities. If these kids don't have that, I mean, the damage that will be done generationally is something that we can't even begin to imagine right now.
We can imagine it because if we start to look at where we are, if you don't think that the rest of the world is beating our behinds in the academic arms race, think of the following. Go to the doctor and see where your doctor comes from. And if that doesn't work, call tech support for your IBM or for your Mac and see who you call. But you're not going to call somebody from here because we're losing.
Here's what I want to ask you about. I want to take a quick break because I'm fired up about this and I want to keep you on. Why can't this president or this administration or this Congress, what Americans want is jobs. Why can't we create the kinds of jobs so people don't have to just collect unemployment? Not that there's anything wrong with collecting unemployment. I understand when you lose your job. But, you know, give a guy a whistle and put him at the school after the kids leave and have them coach and make a football team or a baseball team or divvy them up or teach them about something. Where are the people who could do this? And by the way, what's wrong with taking a police officer one day a week and instead of having him with a gun and a badge, give him a whistle and a coach's hat and have him work with those kids? It just seems like there's all kinds of creative solutions out there, but nobody thinks about them. Stay right there. I want your take on that when I come back. Stay there, folks.